And with that intro ripped from what I assume to be a previously lost episode of Erie, Indiana, I welcome you all to a brand new LP of a recently fan-translated 3DO horror game called Doctor Hauzer. Just what lies in store for us inside the titular mansion of Doctor Hauzer? Well, there's only one way to find out, and that's to begin. Now, normally I would recommend never going into someone's house uninvited, even if the door is wide open, but considering we are old acquaintances of Dr. Hauzer, I certainly don't see why we shouldn't enter. Though, considering the state of the front door and this precarious chandelier that nearly caved in our head, I feel like it might be good to stay on our toes a little bit and keep in mind that this house might not be in the best state. I mean, it's incredibly spacious and everything, but well, I'm a little bit wary about heading into the next room without knowing what's laying in store for us. Thankfully, we have this window here where we can take a peek into the next room. And it looks pretty safe and normal in there, so I think we are good to press on. As one can assume, this mansion is going to be particularly sprawling. And considering that we haven't talked to Dr. Hauzer in quite some time, we don't really have much in the way of clues to go on. And even though we do have a few avenues to explore, I don't want to leave this living room just yet. Because on the walls here, there are two very interesting pieces of artwork, though they are a little bit hard to see. Thankfully, with Dr. Hauzer, you do get up to 2 different camera angles to work with, such as a top-down view, but more importantly, we also have a third option, a first-person view, which allows us this lovely, lovely gazing look at, well, the very stern figure of Dr. Hauzer himself. Along with the opposite wall here, have the much more demure Mrs. Hauzer. Now, we are going to be learning more about at least Dr. Hauzer later, though I do want to say that, the first-person view is interesting. It just has this weird issue where I think it tries to mimic our main character's head movement, and as such, just staying in the first-person view will cause us to sway back and forth. It's actually a bit hypnotic. Still, that picture of Dr. Hauzer reminded me what our true mission is here, and that's to find Mr. Hauzer. Now we could head up the stairs. Though it seems that much like the rest of the house, they're in a very bad state of disrepair. And we do have some options with the doors, though. We have one locked door. And this set of double doors here is also locked as well. So that just kind of leaves us this final third door here, and usually third time is the charm. Not in this case, though. Yeah, this game has a couple of, I guess, notorieties for the few people that have played it. One of those is somewhat bullshit deaths. Yeah, it keeps a visual style very akin to Alone in the Dark, and as well, it also keeps somewhat unfair deaths, especially considering that up to this point, you might have noticed, we haven't really had an option to save yet. The good news is that they decide to be a little bit, I guess, fair with this, and that, as we are a hard-boiled reporter, always reporting the archaeological news, I guess, we do always carry around our handy-dandy notebook to keep track of all the stories that we are writing. And not only does it keep track of our stories, it also keeps track of our progress. And even better than that is that we are pretty much open to save absolutely almost 80% of the time that we want. Which is pretty handy, considering the amount of times that you can kind of die at this game unexpectedly. But now that we have safely kept our progress, we will now actually figure out a way to progress through the game via this grandfather clock. And we find a nice handy key. Which not only triggers the clock into motion, but also causes a rather noticeable rumbling sound somewhere in the house. Kind of get the impression we might be finding out just where that rumbling came from shortly. For now, though, well, we have a 50-50 chance with this key, so let's try the further door first. And hey, good luck is finally with us. We managed to not, die after entering a door. But, yeah, I get the impression that this is where that rumbling was coming from. Somehow we managed to open up a bottomless pit in the middle of this hallway here, and well, we don't really have many other options of places to go outside of this one other available door here, so let's see what's inside. And here we have our first, I guess, legitimate puzzle of the game. Nice decorated bedroom of sorts. Very large, almost door-shaped flower painting here. And, well, we got two vases, one on each opposing side of the room, though, well, this vase seems particularly empty in comparison to that other one. And I guess that leaves a few options of things we can do here. Definitely seems that it does have something to do with this flower here, which we are able to take. But we aren't able to take the vase. And, I guess what it could want us to do is maybe place the vase and flower on the chair here, facing the painting. Maybe that does something. So, Maybe we can try to move this vase here. And it does seem like we can take it, so I don't see any reason why we shouldn't. Oh yeah, I guess we shouldn't take it because it's full of poison gas. That makes sense, I guess. So yeah, this kind of shows that sometimes we don't really need to take everything that's not nailed down. Instead, what we simply want to do is to place the dried flower we got into this vase. And believe it or not, that very large door-shaped painting of a flower is indeed a door into the next room. The thing is, though, there is one other item of interest in this room before we leave. And it's not really that obvious. It's actually hidden, I think, underneath this table here. And it is another key. And we will be collecting quite a few keys in our journey through Doctor Hauzer's house. And though we don't get a very good view initially, we find ourselves in a even more spacious bedroom than the last. And this one houses quite a few useful items, such as our first bit of reading material with Dr. Hauzer's diary. We're going to go ahead and take a quick look at that. It is longer than you might think. Now, you're more than welcome to pause this at your own leisure. I'm just going to go ahead and summarize here. It seems that the famed archaeologist had found a lithograph, and he was a bit possessive of it, almost to an unhealthy level, I guess. He had people help him excavate it, but in his mind, it was only for him, and it was willed by whoever made the lithograph, and well, he seemed very protective of it. Which, I mean, I guess they did kind of explain away in the intro that he was a little bit, not really a people person. Almost unapproachable. Angry, even. And that's, I guess that makes sense, considering how he wrote in his diary about just random lithographs that he found. And in addition to that, we find, for some reason or another, he managed to wallpaper over the mirror here on the dresser. More importantly, though, we do find another key. And you might have been noticing, as we have been making our journey through the house, that there's no real indication wherever an item is. Sometimes the game is nice enough to tell you, yeah, there's no reason to look in this. There's nothing worth picking up here. Sadly, though, there is one last object to pick up in here, and it's pretty easy to miss. And it just kind of goes back to the whole adventure game, I guess, fallback of not always showing you where items are that you can pick up. I will say, though, normally a map would be a very useful item in a game, but this game isn't very large and it's not really that difficult to find your way around. I don't know, I kind of find it a bit telling that the guest room was the one that had the poison gas trap, while the normal bedroom here, where I assume Dr. Hauzer slept, is amazingly trap-free. I guess he wasn't really big on, hosting people. Still, we are slowly but surely making progress. There is still the problem of that very large hole, though at the end of the corridor here is something a bit out of place. Now, considering what we have found so far, we don't always want to press switches, though in this case we do. Because it actually worked out to our benefit. Yeah, looks like it's clear sailing back to the main hall there. Though, you know, I've been a bit remiss. There are all these windows along the corridor here, and much like the window in the foyer, we can look outside these windows. Though, outside of getting a much-needed view of our main character's face, there's not much else to it. What's odd, though, is somehow or another, Doctor Hauzer, through magic or the dark arts, has managed to make every one of his windows, at least on the first floor, also hologram, he's managed to make them all look out to the exact same thing. And oddly enough, not only do they look out to the exact same visage, they also manage to have the same stock sound of a repeating dog howling. It's truly spooky. But with our brand new keys, and knowledge that that nearby door is indeed instant death, we only have one more avenue to explore on the first floor currently. And in this lovely decorated room here, we find the main focal point appears to be this, well, it's a very tall chimney, though the game feels it's particularly long. I guess both could work as a descriptive, though I've never really thought of a long chimney. Other than the very long chimney, there are a few bureaus over here, which don't really house anything of interest. And it seems to confound our reporter here. What seems to confound me more is this painting on the wall. Now, if we get a better look at it, it kind of looks like maybe a tree on a hill, or possibly broccoli. Though, upon investigation, we find instead that it's a picture of a boulder. I don't know, maybe it's a very abstract boulder. In reality, though, the main purpose of this particular room is to teach us about one or two more new game mechanics. Namely, well, we can obviously tell there is a door behind this very light rack. And, believe it or not, we've already seen that we can push objects, but in addition, we can also pull them. Though it can be a little bit finicky. Also, I do quite enjoy the animation that occurs whenever you are not actually pulling something. Kind of a white man's moonwalk. Now, it's not going to be as simple as that. It still appears that the door is locked and it doesn't have a keyhole, so we're not going to be able to use one of the other keys we found. And instead, that leaves me to assume that maybe there's something else we can possibly pull in this room. It's not going to be that table, though. And I really don't feel we're going to be able to do anything with this couch here. All that leaves is this Well, a large coffee table in the center. This very large, pushable coffee table. And hey, that's another puzzle down and another room we've successfully managed to not die in, so feeling pretty good about how all this adventuring is going so far. Kind of feeling though that we might be stretching our luck a bit thin, so I'm just gonna get out of here. Though in the end, I feel like we're trapped between a rock and a hard place. So see you next time for more Dr. Hauzer.